I'm Joel McCower here in GreenBiz studio with David Tulauskas, the Director of Sustainability at General Motors. David, we've been talking about the circular economy throughout this conference. You actually are doing some really interesting things in keeping things out of the waste stream and turning them into some very valuable products and ultimately some services. Talk a little bit about some examples.
Well, you're right. We've been talking a lot about circular economy because it's really important. As the world becomes more connected and more complex, we need to move away from linear thinking to be more circular, and that includes the economy. So, and that allows for different approaches to our supply chain, which is often displayed as a linear chain with a 1 weak link can bring it all down. So we've been looking at circular economy. How can we keep our molecules in motion for longer, create jobs, create social benefit, minimize environmental impact, and build a more resilient supply web? So we kind of talk about circular economy with the concept of a supply web. And yeah, we took 4 million pop bottles that were generated at several of our facilities in Michigan, plus in Flint water, where they're using a lot of water bottles. We collaborated with a collection of 12 different organizations to change those pop bottles into new car parts, into a coat that is converted into a sleeping bag and is donated to the homeless. It's built by the Empowerment Plan or sewn together by the Empowerment Plan. The insulation is there, comes from these pop bottles. And then also a company, one of our key suppliers for our filtration systems in our plant, Filtration Services Group, they worked with an organization called New Life Center in Flint, Michigan, that hires at-risk people to help make the filters that then go into our plants that are from these pop bottles. Mm-hmm. So we took these pop bottles that could have been landfilled and instead really turned them into high value and created jobs
and opportunities. Yeah. So you talk about this web. These are other companies. These are nonprofits. We'll talk a little bit more about who's in this web for at least that particular exercise.
Yeah. So if you think about this chain being spread into a web, you've got the pop bottles that are collected at the GM facilities and up in Flint, Michigan. They come together and they're flaked by a company. They're chopped up, flaked. They're washed by another company. Another company turns those flakes into fleece. And then another company turns that fleece into nylon. And then that nylon becomes a raw material into a car part, goes to another supplier, becomes air filtration system, or goes into a coat that's donated to people in need.
I talk about keeping molecules in motion. Is this a
and it creates jobs along the way.
Is this a profitable activity or is this philanthropy for you?
At the end of the day, it's got to make business sense. And I guess what I would say is it's creating jobs, it's driving societal impact, it's reducing environmental impact, it's lowering our material costs because we don't have to buy virgin material, we're using it. So it makes complete business sense. And I think it's a great example for businesses to think about how they can redefine their role in society. We saw from GlobeScan, there's a real trust issue with businesses, and we need to redefine the role business plays in society. And I think for businesses to truly maximize their value for all their stakeholders, they need to be operating in flourishing communities. It's a symbiotic relationship. And so while it may not pencil, from a financial perspective using, today's accounting standards, we need to make sure we have a role to play in making sure the communities in which we operate are flourishing. And that's going to enable us to drive maximum value.
Driving value appropriate from General Motors. Thanks so much, David Tulauskas,
You're welcome.
GM.
Thanks.